guys. It's Elizabeth Stephenson with New Direction Family Law, where we believe with change comes empowerment. Don't you just love Facebook Live? It always catches you at the strangest moments. Yes. I'm with Dr. Kristen Wynn, and she is part of our For a Better Life workshop series, where we focus on health, wealth, wisdom, and love. Welcome, Dr. Wynn.
Thank you.
You're going to be with us in September, and you have a fascinating topic. I have a teen now. I'm going to say a tween, but he's a teen.
Yes.
And you're going to be talking about how to talk to your teen, your children, and not be their friend, but still be able to talk to them and have a great and close relationship, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm in the same boat. I have a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, so the tween and teen, and it's challenging years for sure when they're drifting towards friends and wanting to be independent, but then still very much needing mom and dad for emotional reasons and for relationship reasons. Right. So it's a challenge for parents to walk that line of staying close and having that intimate connection with their child and teen, but also still having the appropriate discipline and respect so that the kids aren't walking all over them or disregarding their rules. So my talk hopefully will help parents strike that perfect middle balance where they can learn some tips and techniques for staying close while still having that proper respect and boundaries there.
That's great, because I'm always afraid, if I'm too disciplinarian, that he'll shut off and cut off, and I want him to talk to me. You know? So it's a fine line, really, that you walk.
It is, and you also have to be clever as a parent to stay one step ahead and look for those moments to connect and not necessarily expect they're going to come to you and sit down and say, hey, let's talk about life.
It doesn't happen that way anymore.
That's right. No.
So New Direction Family Law, we work with folks who are going through separation and divorce, and you're one of our trusted network partners where we always hope that families will get with a mental health professional to help them sort of guide them through that minefield.
Yes.
So are there any special, what are the main things, or what do you see mostly about families that are going through a separation and divorce and how it affects their children?
Sure, that's one of our primary specialties, and we often see the fallout after a divorce or separation, where unfortunately when the parents are fighting and disagreeing and separating, sometimes that causes a rift between the parent and child where they might have problems themselves with staying close or with conflict. So we do a lot of work around that, actually, specifically some therapy around that parent-child relationship and trying to heal again, and of course also for the parents to try and help co-parent even if they're not going to be married anymore. But this topic for my workshop is relevant in that I'm going to be giving tips even for families where they've had a divorce and maybe that relationship has changed with their child and teen for the worse, and give some tips about how under those circumstances they can try to reconnect and build back that relationship.
That's great. A lot of times then if we have to go to court, our judges sort of start with the premise of joint custody, and that involves joint legal custody. Right. And it's hard to have to work together to make decisions about big things like education, health, and what if you can't communicate.
That's right.
So how do is that a challenge for you? Can you work with both parents if they're willing to come to you and figure out ways to do that?
Sure, absolutely. If we can get them in the same room, we find we can do amazing things, even with parents who really have a lot of conflict and animosity. And we always find it really rewarding, of course, when parents can still put aside some of those differences, and we can all get focused on, hey, this kid and teen, we still want them to come out of this as much as possible unscathed, so let's work together. And we have a good bit of success if we can get them at least in the same room with the same mission, with moving forward with working on that.
That's so good to know. So what are your specialties? Do you work with children, adults, families? Who do you focus on?
So I am very fortunate to have an amazing team on my staff. So between us, we're overall a specialty practice for children and teens and families. Okay. So little ones, ages 3 on up through college age is what we focus on. But of course, we're also doing a good bit of work with parents and couples and families. Right. But that's our overall specialty. And then within that, among my team, we can cover all the common issues with behavior problems, emotional problems, relationship problems, trauma, eating disorders. We can kind of cover the whole
Whole
spectrum.
thing.
And then, of course, that custody divorce niche of mine.
Right.
A few of my staff have as well. So we do lots of custody work and then the related therapy as well.
That's great. So are you involved in, a lot of times courts will order child custody evaluation?
Yes.
So do you guys do those sorts of things?
We do.
And what's the purpose? You know, that scares my clients sometimes when they hear that because they're afraid of it, but I look at it as a good thing.
I do too. We love performing custody evaluations because we find oftentimes after a divorce, parents are really focused on a lot of concerns and problems, and there's a whole mess of a pile of issues, and we like to think that we can come in and be the cleanup crew and help organize them, focus in on what's really relevant to the child and teen, and then write up a report that focuses in on this is what we think would be best for the child and teen as far as visitation and communication. And we just think it's helpful with a mass of information to have one person looking at everything and then organizing it and making sense of it and then giving recommendations for how to improve things.
And you really and you focus on what's in the best interest of the child, just like I do and the judges do, not necessarily what either the parents want, right?
Exactly. And we are very upfront about that we say we're not team mom, we're not team dad, we are for the child, and we try to be upfront about that.
That's great. I had some questions that some folks out is why is there a need for parents to get tips on how to be close but not friends with their teens?
Yes, we see that unfortunately in this day and age when kids have a cell phone starting at age 8 and video games, the newest system, we just see that parents are sometimes struggling with doing too much and feeling like they have to keep up with everybody else and wanting their kid to like them and not be mad at them. And one thing I try to work on with my parent clients is remember, even with your older kids and teens, they're not always going to be happy with you, but that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong.
Sometimes it means you're doing something right.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we tried to help sort of differentiate that line of doing too much for fear of your kid being mad at you versus still doing some things for fun and to enhance the relationship, but kind of knowing where that line is where you're overstepping for fear of your kid's reaction. You never want to be parenting because of
reactionary
fear.
Way. Yeah, that's true. So tell me a little bit about your clinical team. Does each psychologist have a specialist? Will you see the same person every time you come? Do the parents... That's one question. Do the parents talk to the therapist, or is it just the child? How does that work?
Yeah, good questions. So we definitely try to keep consistency with seeing the same psychologist or therapist. However, a perk of having a medium-sized practice is we do pair up a lot. So one of us might be seeing the child in therapy while another psychologist might be working with the parents. And we find that gives the kid the space to have their own person and sort of have that confidentiality respected. But then the parent can still be getting that good, tough advice. You need to toughen up, have better boundaries. And it's nice to separate that out. So we do team up a lot. Or one person might be doing family therapy while the other one's working with the couple. So I think between us, there are 8 of us now seeing clients, and between the 8 of us, again, we can have pretty good coverage with definitely always meeting with the parent first and then figuring out from there, can we handle the whole thing or do we need to team up with somebody else to have really good coverage?
That's great. So you really are individualized. It's not like this is you come in and we're going to put you in this slot. You sit down and talk to people and figure out what they want and their family needs, right?
Yes, and a lot of times when a parent calls up, they don't actually know what they need.
That's true.
And we try to reassure them, you don't have to actually know if you need testing. We didn't talk about that, but we do a lot of testing too. And parents don't need to necessarily know if they need testing or therapy or custody evaluation. If they can come in and give us an hour of their time, again, we can kind of help them organize that, and at the end of that hour say, okay, we've got it. We recommend family therapy, then a group, and then maybe some testing later. So as long as they come in and they can just tell their story, then we can help get services in place from there.
Oh, that's great. So what happens if you have a client or a family and one parent really doesn't want to participate or doesn't participate, can you still see the other parent and the children and help them as best you can in that relationship?
We can. Of course, we prefer, we always say the more data, the better.
Right.
So we prefer to have both parents involved in some way, but obviously that doesn't always happen. Right. And so we still don't want somebody to miss out on help if somebody is not interested in participating. So, of course, our goal is to have more people, right. Both involved. But if that doesn't happen, we still definitely can make the best of who we have in the room with us.
Oh, that's great. Now you have 2 offices. We're in your office in Cary right now, which is in the Preston area.
Yes,
right? And
with the nice green walls.
I love it. This is really a welcoming sort of practice. It's bright colors and artwork on the wall, and it doesn't feel like a clinician's office, I guess. So is that thoughtful? But did you plan that?
Yes, and clients love it. As soon as they sit on this couch, they
go,
go,
so comfy.
Oh, it's so wonderful here, and the colors. And we even use the space outside where we take kids outside to throw the football and the frisbee and walk in the woods and look for golf balls. So we use the whole space.
That's great.
Sure.
That's great. And where's your Raleigh office?
It's in North Raleigh on Bailey Wick, so similar setup there with beautiful, colorful offices and nice custom artwork where clients hopefully can feel good as soon as they walk in.
That's great. So tell folks how they could reach you. Website, phone number, what's the best way?
Yes, our website is great, full of resources, and it also has contact information there. So it's WynnsFamilyPsychology.com, WYNNS, don't forget the S. And then our main office number is 919-467-7777, and I also have my cell phone listed everywhere, and people are welcome to call me directly if they have questions or even text me.
Oh my gosh,
we're cool like that in 2017. We know how to do all that.
I know.
So my cell is 919-805-0182.
That's great. Oh, one thing I did want to ask you about, tell me about No Wimpy parenting.
Yes.
What is that? I love that.
It's a little similar to some of what I'll be talking about in September. It's basically a movement, a revolution, some could say, to help parents get empowered and get their power back in the home, where there's a lot of parents who are kind of being walked over by their kids and having the kids say what they're going to do and when they're going to do it.
Right.
So I offer parent coaching one-on-one, and I also like to go around to do parent workshops to get a whole room full of parents fired up to take back their power and have some more respect from kids. I'm writing a book too.
Yeah, that's great. And then is there a newsletter attached to Wimpy Kids?
Yes. If people email me, they can sign up for the newsletter, and then we send out just interesting tips and content related to that and other things we offer.
That's great. So they can get your email off your website?
They sure can.
Okay, that's great. So make sure you join Dr. Wynn with us in September for her workshop. That's how to stay close to your child, your tween, and your teen. So we hope we'll see you there. Thank you, Dr. Wynn. I appreciate you being with us today. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.